Hello again, ladies and gents. We're starting to build some momentum here, and I hope you guys are learning a lot from these lessons and breakdowns and end of days that we're doing. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. And yeah, without further ado, let's just jump straight into today's breakdown. So, what I really like about this is we're really starting to, you can look at this day after day and see the narrative build up over time, right? So, we were saying that yesterday we had this order flow, right? This bearish order flow that was kicking in. Why? Because we were respecting bearish arrays which were formed, right? We were, what's the word I'm looking for? Mitigating them, right? And then creating new bearish arrays to the downside, which we were respecting. And then again, creating new arrays from wherever it's this bearish OB or imbalance formed in Asia, right? We can see that the flow of orders was to the downside. If we look on a fractal perspective, you see that from the daily, after we took out this sell side liquidity, there was no follow through to the upside, right? You see that we closed below here, new week starts, right? Monday, we don't take out the lower end of that range. DXY did, we take out the low or the high on DXY, we get divergence, but no follow through. We have, and there's no even array on the daily to really be holding price lower or capping price. So we start to look for further downside, right? We're not getting any follow through on the daily. 1 hour, you see here that we induce the bullish intent. We don't get any follow through. I was saying yesterday that in order for us to start looking for longs, we need to see buy side step in with bullish intent, right? Which look, we do get that there, but we induce it, right? We don't follow through with that bullish intent, and we end up taking out this low down here. So when we come to the charts in the morning, so around here, right, your idea is that, okay, cool, we have now induced this array, which was previously respected order flow. I don't know if this is glitching or what. I just saw it do something, but hopefully it's not glitching. This. So we have a bullish imbalance over here, which if we just drag that along, and you can see this drawing right here, you see that price closes below it, which means that order flow, which was previously being respected, is now getting induced, right? Which is further reason for why we should have been looking for shorts this morning, right? So ideally, what we were looking for was price to take out this buy side liquidity up here to then fuel the downside move, right? So this buy side liquidity is Asia high. So we wanted to see price transact above this, right, into this relatively expected area on our chart for sellers to begin injecting offers into the market and trade to the other end of this range of Asia, right? So target Asia low and then eventually target that sell side liquidity at the previous week's low. Now, this is where that counter stage, pro stage scenario comes in. You have to understand what scenario you're in, because if you're taking shorts, you need to understand that you can only take this up until here, right? At least 60% out has to come out here, if not the full position, for this exact reason. You see, when we're counter stage, price needs more fuel and it takes a lot more effort to break these previous lows, right? Even here, we're not slamming through these lows, right? Price is having a hard time moving lower because we don't have any higher time frame backing. Whereas when higher time frames are in line, price takes out these buy side and sell side liquidity levels with ease, right? But coming back to the main point anyway, if we just do the replay tool and we come back to this over here, right? So we wait for London to open. So we're looking at 2 a.m. New York, 7 a.m. London time, right? We've induced that bullish array. We've just closed below this sell side liquidity, right? Your next logical area to start looking for shorts is above this, right? For price to pick up new liquidity to fuel the move lower. You also have this order block over here, which price already kind of respected. So to, run liquidity, tap into the array, the mean threshold of that, which is backed by this bearish BPR and imbalance, it would have been nice to see that, right? We don't have any real, well, we have the 4-hour imbalance over here, which was still intact and holding price lower, nothing on the daily. But yeah, so this was mainly an ETF play. We didn't have any higher time frame backing like there was no 1 hour H1 array that we were really, that was fresh for price to tap into and push away from, right? So when we're at the charts, we're looking and we're saying, cool, we want price to transact above here and show us some kind of rollover to the downside M15 intent that we can begin to get involved in. So if I play price, you'll see the kind of scenario that unfolded. So boom, bang. So we get to here, right? And at this point, my eyes are starting to peel, because as much as we don't have price transacting above the buy side liquidity level, you can see that we are starting to top out in this window between 8 a.m. and between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m., right? That London kill zone, right? So we're looking at that and we're saying, cool, our key London window is here. Right, so that's your London Open. Right, that's your window, and you're looking for price to kind of top out. If we're expecting a day of bearish delivery, let's just tidy this up because I prefer it like that. Right, if you're anticipating a day of bearish delivery, there's a potential that price tops out here. Right, so our eyes started to really, or our neurons began to activate at this point. If I just get the H1 up, right, you can see that we are transacting just above this bearish imbalance and within this order block on our H1, right? This is our H4. And then this is our H1, right? And you see we get this kind of absorbing, price runs up, gets absorbed, we pull back, right? Price runs up, we fail to close above the previous hourly high, right? And you can see that we're starting to encounter some kind of resistance there. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, cool, what is the current scenario that we have in terms of order flow? Well, on the M15, price is currently leaving behind bullish imbalances and respecting those and pushing higher, right? And then we're creating new bullish arrays and tapping into those and pushing higher. Now, ideally, what you want to wait for is this M15 to get induced, right? So something like this, and then start to play that sell side curve down towards these lows, right? But in order for you to get involved here, you need to see strong confirmations of sell side intent, right? You see that we don't get, we get this imbalance here, right? You get this very small imbalance, but price doesn't body close below this shift. So you could have got in here, right? Because you have your, as much as this is a shallow shift, you get an array, right? So you can get involved here. This just wasn't really my cup of tea. I would have rather seen price body close below that, and also because we're trading into an opposing array, I just wanted a bit more confirmation. But we see that price is running these previous highs. We're absorbing, right? Buyers are getting absorbed up here, right? And then we get absorbed again, sorry. Buyers get absorbed here, they get absorbed here, right? And now I need to start seeing some intent to the downside. So if we play price, you see this, right? Bang. And then now, at this point, we've body closed below our shift point. Shift, right? So at this point, I said, you know what, cool. On my higher risk accounts, so like my challenge accounts and some funded accounts, I said, cool, I'm going to start looking for where I can go short. And that happened over here. Right, so we opened up on this, because we got the more or less the M15 confirmation on the shift, right? Price had body closed below this imbalance on the M5, right? So as much as we didn't get it on the M15, which would have been ideal, I thought I'll shoot this, I'll add some risk on just because it was there, right? To some degree, and look, M5 induced it, and we're leaving behind M5 arrays. I thought, cool, we will shoot this on the M15 fractal OB, right? So you see here, that low of this bullish candle, that is where I got in, which lined up with the low of this M5 right here, right? And then this was my first position on the day. So I said, cool, if price comes back up here, I want to get in, put my stop above that high, that most recent high that broke this low, and then I can target Asia low. Bang. So this was what we were working with in the morning. So then we play price, we play price, we play price. You see we kind of hang around, we hold that, and then we expand lower. Now at this point on M15, you can see that we induce the bullish imbalance, right? And if I go next, we leave behind a new bearish imbalance, right? So that bearish delivery was more or less in line for the day, but you can see we haven't yet induced that final imbalance here, but we'd already tapped into it, and we'd induced this one. So I was okay with, holding this trade through. And I also wanted to start scaling in. So off this, where was it? Yeah, so we had the bearish imbalance on M15, paired that up with this M15 shift zone, right? So this was a bullish order block, which got sliced, right? You see we sliced that there, no body close. So then I entered again right here with my stops just above this high. Like so. So this was a BPR. Right, and then at this point, this had gone to break even. Price then does this, and you see I get stopped out on this position, which was extremely unfortunate, right, by a very small amount of pips. And I had my stop loss a pip above, right, so it was 5.6. You see, literally, it's almost as if they manipulated me. I'm starting to think they might have, right? Bang. This position ends up staying intact, right? So this was fine, and I ended up banking the profits on that for 2.45R, which was nice. So it's not that this was a bad trade, right? It's just very unfortunate that price came up to this here. And on M5, now that I'm looking back at it, right? Yeah, it's just unfortunate. What can you do? We have this M5 array. If I really wanted to, I could have been more meticulous and wrapped it above the M5 array, right? So put it just here, and I would have been better off. But hey, it is what it is. Not a bad trade. The direction was very much there for the day. I'm happy I identified that. I'm happy I capitalized on that. It was just unfortunate that price took that out. What can we do about that? So go into M5 just to get a deeper look at that order flow. You can see that, yeah, we body closed below that, and we end up tapping into sell side liquidity here. Now, the key takeaway again is just that management. You have to I took 60% out of this position, right, on this. So I got in there, I took 60% out here, and as soon as we induce this array, right, so there, no, not there, here. So as we started doing this, as we got no follow through, no arrays here, as price came up here, right, where was the closure? Yeah, so here, as price, where? Here, right, this body closed. So as price body closed above that on M5 and started coming back up here, that's when I closed my position out, right? Yeah, so on this part of the leg, right, as price started coming back above here, inducing that, and we weren't getting any follow through on the M5, right? You see how, I just want to make this extremely clear. You see how after this leg down, we leave behind bearish imbalances and they don't get respected, right? So it's like, okay, cool. We have this bearish OB up top. Let's see if we can get some follow through from that, right? Because I've already taken out 60% of my position, right? So I'm just aiming to see if price has more momentum to push lower, right? We tap into this, we push down, we leave behind this array. And I said, cool, I want this array to get respected and price to continue pushing down. And then it doesn't do that. So as we started to come up and above that M15 imbalance, I said, look, this is most likely not going to hold. And I closed the position out. Yeah, so we got a nice little win on the day, which wasn't bad, right? We took a small little hit over here, but this still delivered, which was nice. This wasn't high probability though. Neither of these were extremely high probability. This one I probably even shouldn't have taken due to the fact that we're like basically in the middle of Asia. Without any clear delivery, we haven't taken out any significant levels. yeah, it just wasn't ideal. It wasn't great. That higher time frame backing isn't there. I should have just taken this, right, with the lower risk that I did on that M5 shift and just let it run there and bank that. I shouldn't have been trying to get more from the market in these conditions, but hey, it is what it is. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you next time.